Although obviously normally has lane presence very early. The ranged advantage of Nah, plus the ability to build Frozen Mallet just kind of takes away everything Renekton has in the side lane as we get later into the game.
Boomerang's better than Crocs. Well, let's see if it goes down that way. Roccat have a tough task ahead of them if they want to etch a win here against the Unicorns of Love. Admittedly a struggling Unicorns, but they are looking for some redemption. Let's find out if they got it. The whole Love Hurts crew here today, and you can see the pink light shining down. Let's see if the Unicorns can take their energy and take the win here, or if Roccat will bite back. Game 1 on the Rift. That's pretty catchy.
Fairly well-dressed Love Hurts crew today as well. I would say put their Sunday best on, but it is Saturday.
Close
of course, in the coming weeks, LCS will be broadcast on Sunday as well, as we will have some matches on a 4-day game week starting next week.
The aptly named Extended Week.
Exactly. Roccat are looking to extend themselves up into the top side of the Rift here. Of course, 5-man stack. We've seen this a whole bunch, but look at that ward that's already out there. Roccat looking to interrupt any Raptor start. Unicorns were waiting to do the same, but they just spotted the entire Roccat team, so they know that they can place any vision control down that they want.
And they'll do just that. 5-man units both ways. Roccat is starting to split up here as they look to head down into their own jungle. Ooh, if Unicorns stick around.
Yeah, now that is the danger, because Roccat are now crossing into dangerous territory, as they do not have any vision on the Unicorns.
Oh boy.
You can see Roccat are giving it respect too. This isn't just walk back into the jungle, it's ours, right? This is carefully move into the jungle.
This is a 3v3 bush standoff. Haven't seen this in a while. They don't know, nobody knows what's going on.
Well, it's interesting because you can see Betsy's now gone up to check the Raptors. Now that Exile has shown, Unicorns are actually going to try starting on the red. Is it going to be a smite fight? Maxwell was on his Raptors to begin this.
Yeah, both junglers going to be slowed down here. Looks like we will be in for a smite fight. Unicorns are committing to it, but the red has re-aggroed. Oh, that's going to reset. Okay, everybody's time is wasted.
Everyone's time is wasted, but Xerxes feels the pain on this even more. He now has to walk all the way back to his jungle or double down and try for a steal again, but he's going back over to his blue buff. That's the smarter option. However, it puts him behind Maxlor now. Look, Maxlor's already level 2 as Xerxes starts on the next camp. So Xerxes is going to lose a bit of pace.
We talked about how it's important for him to get going a little early to make trips up to the top side, help Vizichachi out if he wants to get going in the mid as well. So this could be good for Roccat in the long run. Small advantages, see what they can build off of. And they talked about, Grabs was saying, if they overlook us, they might make little mistakes. Hylissang going in onto Wadid, but he's got that big shield. Oh, exhaust down, and the Voidlings are coming for him.
Oh, Wadid just getting crushed by a lot of those Voidlings, that damage in the lane. Early exhaust out of Hylissang to make sure they got the multiply on the Voidlings, because Camille obviously being melee, trying to trade.
He was almost done on that one. Had to get the heal out of Yarnan.
And the thing is, like, Camille's kit post 6 is exceptional for even a support.
There's still a little ways to go for that, unfortunately.
There's a long way before that, and you can see Unicorns trying to defend against any type of 3 buff coming out. Exile just drifting up. He pushed out mid, comes with Xerxes to try and defend. We've seen a couple of junglers fall prey to walking to their red buff late. Maxwell, however, was not doing that. He ended up just taking his Gromp. Didn't even clear Scuttle Crab yet. It's just a normal ward that is on that position.
Yep. Betsy going for his back now. He already had the Mana Crystal. He had a pretty big farm advantage over Exile, who had gone and helped out Xerxes for a little bit. He's going to be backing away too, so that's advantage there. Now Hylissang's spell shield was on it, but did unfortunately could not hook shot the way he wanted. Oh, the Voidlings, no heal! Going in for first blood, it's Hylissang.
Oh, that's painful when you think I'm going to set up the flashy hook shot. It's going to be great. I'm going to stun him. Oh, I'm playing against Malzahar.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Hey, man, I know you've been playing enough with the new Zelda, so new hook shots, sometimes you don't always want to go in on it. We did find that one out as we have a quick pause up. Boy, Bill. Oh, boy.
Oh, that's... We did, like, my hook shot didn't stun. My hook shot...
And now my screen's gray? What's going on?
I mean, so we saw yesterday the Camille support come out from Mickey, and it looked pretty good. He was like, hey, thanks, Gate, for showing me how it's done. I don't really feel like Wadid's had too many games on Camille support, especially not into Jin Malzahar. Taking those trades voluntarily is probably not the best idea.
Execution is all the important thing, too. Also, it's a different pairing, right? Like, when you have the Ziggs, you also want to push as fast as possible. The Ashe is going to be able to do a little bit of that with the volley, but it's not going to have the same pushing pressure against... You talked about this deadly 2v2, the Jin Malzahar. Roccat had a chance to ban the Malz, and they didn't.
Most of the work was done by Hylissang as well. In the first exchange, puts his exhaust down.
It was not a kill steal.
Yeah.
That was straight up like, I'm going for this guy.
Hard worked kill. You can see Xerxes on your screen. We have got a brief pause. It is Xerxes that is the one that has called for the pause, so we will get an update for you as soon as we possibly can. But it's, I mean, you can't get much better starts in a 2v2 lane than killing the unorthodox support while he's only level 2.
Yep.
That'll
Definitely.
do it.
I mean, it's a good start for the Unicorns. Obviously, you talked about the 1-3-1 being really important for Roccat if this game goes late, but they're going to have to survive the laning phase. The top lane should be fine with the Gnar matchup. The junglers are a little bit set back, so that won't affect things as much. And Betsy's doing all right. But the bottom side, that's where you have to be really careful, especially when we talk about Yarnan, who had been, you know, if you can call it that, a standout performer on this Roccat squad.
Yeah, he has been. And, you know, on this Ashe, he's got a little bit different of a job. Of course, utility carries, looking to set up the fight when it comes to that Ashe. Get the Ashe arrow. A little bit less focused on damage, perhaps, than the likes of the Sivir, which is basically wave clear until I have 4 items. But nevertheless, I'm looking forward to seeing how Hyanan can do on Ashe.
Yes, indeed. And, you know, it's still, even though it's a utility carry, you can still pump out some damage, especially come the later stages of the game. Roccat will be holding out for that one as well. Hopefully, we'll see what Yarnan can do with what did in this bottom lane. We're taking a look at Betsy really quick as he's pushing in mid. The AD carry support already back in as Unicorns have backed away. Maxlord having pressure down bottom.
And a lot of the reason why Betsy is able to push out mid right now is Exile from going up to red buff to help Xerxes. Did spend a small amount of time outside of lane, so Betsy got the push on. This is just the tail end of that happening. Exile will be able to re-establish control of the mid game as we go through the next few minutes.
And I want to touch on Yarnan one more time before we get out of laning phase. It's still going to be a little while for it to happen, but I think it's honestly pretty crazy how much of an impact he has in these later stages of the game and even somehow through the laning phase relative to his team. He gets a really, really high damage percentage for his team. And you may think, okay, maybe he's not doing that much damage overall because his team's not doing much, but not the case.
Yeah, his damage per minute is the highest of any player in EU. It's not even just of 80 carries. It's an impressive setup for Hyanan. Of course, when you have Varus games in that helps. But at the same time, if you are basically putting the team 1v9 on your back, that is the kind of platform that I'm wondering whether Roccat will look to utilize further and further. So this was the hook shot. Didn't get through the shield, and then it's like playing against the Hunter in PvP, which I never really did in WoW, so somebody's probably mad at me for butchering that, but...
I think you can be forgiven. I didn't either. All right, Betsy gets stopped up. Scout of the weekend comes Xerxes flashing auto. Oh boy! Xerxes claiming the kill.
We didn't get to see the full setup to that, but look at the Roccat wards around mid. It's a trick question. There aren't any.
Exist.
So Unicorns utilizing it. Again, push, come in with jungler, take tower, take jungle, win the game.
That's exactly what you were talking about. Now Foxy gets tanked by a tower shot there. Visit Chachi going in. These lanes are going Unicorn's way.
So it is still possible for Renekton to win in the early game. That is still his bread and butter, and you can see he has been dominating the laning phase. Foxy was a little late on exiting the trade, gets caught out by Chachi, and Unicorns, they are dominant in the early game.
Yeah, they get the first brick on mid, and now Maxlor's looking to hunt on to Xerxes, who was occupied by Scuttlecrab, gets a little bit of a heal for finishing the job. Still, Maxlor can't quite get it done. Smokescreen covering Xerxes' escape. I don't think he's going to live for much longer, so Maxlor claims a kill back for himself.
Nice consolation prize, but that mid tower falling is the fastest first tower of the split. And Unicorns just go, okay, we got Graves, good, let's push another tower. And Unicorns with a good start to the game, punishing Roccat for this setup where they're waiting for later in the game. You got the Rise, you got the Gnar, you're thinking, great, we'll get the solo lane pressure. You don't get the solo lane pressure when you've only got a tier on Rise. We are way too early for that.
Yeah, no kidding right now. Wadid this time gets the hookshot landing onto Hylissang, but he turns back around with a plethora of Voidlings onto Yarnan, forcing them to back away. Tiamat now picked up for Chachi as he's back to base, and man, that Croc has really been rocking up top lane. We look away from it, and Foxy should have been winning that.
Yeah, it should, in theory, now that there's Ninja Tabi, now that Foxy can start building towards the Frozen Mallet, that's where the lane takes over. Renekton is still incredibly difficult to trade against in the early game. If you step close enough to him that he can get the first slice, hit you with Ruthless Predator, and then dice away after queuing, you basically lose half of your health. So if Foxy took 1 or 2 trades wrong in the lane, that's absolutely where it still falls apart. Nara is not a certain lane win if you're not playing it correctly.
Well, that's always the problem. Roccat, they still need to fix up those basics that Grab says they were looking to play. No tower in the mid means Betsy's going to be playing back for a little while now. And this starts to open up the jungle more for Unicorns as Xerxes goes on an invade, finds himself a spot to place down his control ward. Maxlor is on blue with Wadid. Looks like instead of contesting it, Xerxes just goes for the Raptor camp.
Wadid's only level 5, so if there is an engage, of course, there is no ultimatum available for Camille, but Unicorns don't choose to take the trade. They're looking for bot tower from this, though. Look at this.
Thanks.
There is a curtain call available for Samox. Hookshot goes on to Xerxes.
Oh boy, he did not get nearly enough damage. The tax sweep puts back on him. Now it's Samox who has the curtain call. 1 shot, 2, does not connect. The 3rd lands on a Yarden, exhaust in the 4th. He's going to have to flash away. Unicorns have zoned out and they're pushing on bottom tower.
All about the tower. They've still got about a minion wave worth in front, but of course that tactical sweep comes in. Wadid jumps forward.
Still got 5 right now. Oh, and they stop him up with the Deadly Flourish. Maxlor goes in, and Maxlor has to flash out. Exile does not get taken down to 0. No isolation damage there. Checking back up in the top. It's Dominance for Vizichachi, looking to dominate Foxy. His Narbar's not there. There's no flashes for either. Chachi turns around, thinks better of it.
Yeah, Chachi, of course, Slice and Dice does have a longer cooldown, or fair, you know.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate one, as Samox and Xerxes said, I'm not tanking it, you tank it.
It's still a worthwhile trade for the Unicorns. They wouldn't have liked to lose Hylissang there, of course. Had his flash available, couldn't get out, but Unicorns get the tower. 2nd tower of the game goes in their favor, and Roccat, they're still on the back end of all of these trades, and that's unfortunate because remember, they need time, they need to establish control of the map, and they don't even have control of their own jungle right now. Lower side has wards littered all the way through from the Unicorns, and that's only going to get worse now. Of course, Sightstone is on Hylissang. Xerxes has himself that Tracker's Knife, and look, already 3 control wards in the inventory from Unicorns looking to establish more control on this map.
I'm glad you pointed it out because they've also been pretty judicious about placing those inside the jungle of Roccat, up towards River as well. Roccat have had a couple of their own, but it's a lot harder when you're just trying to afford some of your items. There's big gold lead for Unicorns. It's 2,500 at 10 minutes into the game.
And with these 2 towers down now, Unicorns have a lot of options on the map, whether it's flashing onto Betsy in the mid lane from a stun from Exile. That would be one option. The other would be just go to Dragon when Graves is on bot side. You have Malzahar, you have a very quick clear on this Dragon, so Unicorns honestly can go almost everywhere they want. Top side's a little harder with those towers still there.
Yeah.
But they don't want to push their lead too fast by the feel of it. They still want to go through the motions on setting things up, whereas Roccat looking for a mid lane play if they can get in there. But look at how Exile's playing on the bottom side of the lane towards where Hylissang is.
Yeah, Roccat moving in mass up towards the top side, but Unicorns hedging their bets as well. So it ends up being non-aggression. It looked like both teams were aiming for a pick for a little while there. Exile instead moves with Xerxes and Hylissang back down. They just trade on the Raptor camp. Big minion wave building for Samox, though, as they look for tier 2. And Maxlor still in the Unicorn jungle.
I almost would have liked Roccat to commit a few people up to topside now, because look, Na has taken over. Double health crystal, plus the longsword, plus the Ninja Tabi, and now the range advantage that has been persistent the entire lane. Foxy's in an okay spot. Betsy might not be, though.
Flashing in, Hylissang is able to nail it, and Exile gets the unleashed power, but Betsy does not go down. He burns his flash to make his great escape, and now Samox might have to do the same. Tack sweep on, Wadid chasing forward. No one else there for the defense, but he walks out of it.
And look at how Foxy's controlling this lane. If they had committed perhaps Maxlor up to the top lane with Wadid, this could have been an attempt onto top tower, maybe looking for a proactive play. That's what they've got vision control top for, but now they're on the back foot, on the bot side of the map, trying to defend the inner tower where Unicorns aren't really looking for it. Now they move out for this dragon that is very simple, stylish entry into the dragon pit, and it's going to be a Cloud Drake going over to the Unicorns of Love.
Easy peasy, that'll help them rotate a little bit more to try and control these lanes. Talked about making sure they can keep the lanes controlled once they have the first brick. They had it down bot, they got the one down middle, or rather the opposite order, I should say. Still looking for top, but when you have an inherently losing matchup like that, it seems like it's totally fine for Unicorns to just be able to hold and ride this one for a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair, but Roccat right now, they need to take control of the reins. They need to actually look for something here. Maybe set up some vision around this bottom side, which is what Roccat are looking to try and do. The problem is Xerxes is already here. They've spotted him, which means there's no play to be made on the bot tower. You can't go aggressive because the numbers are even, but mid lane perhaps is the area to look for. Maxlaw wants to go in.
No stun. Exile has to walk back under tower. He's okay. Still had cleanse, no flash just yet. But for now, he's pushed back at the moment. 2,000, still the gold advantage for Unicorns of Love. And Visit Chachi is on Faxi
Chachi's going to lose. Chachi will lose this trade.
Level disadvantage.
Yeah, and the Hyper, that third auto will proc. As long as Faxi's in Minina, he outtrades Chachi every day of the week.
They're going
This
for
is the play that I wanted to see them make about a minute or two ago, because I think they can kill Chachi and take the tower here.
Big flash, Meganar Dominus on, not going to do enough, and Betsy finishes the job. Let's see if they can take the tower. They are out of minions, but Unicorns instant reaction down mid.
Yeah, this time the Unicorns are actually in a position to punish this play. So Roccat, it's a nice play. This is the kind of thing we were praising Origin for in the last series. So we'll do the same again, where we can say, hey, Roccat, that is the type of play you want to be making in the current meta. However, the Unicorns get the much better trade on the mid inner. So it's nice try from Roccat. Just a little late.
Yeah, it's a little rough. The Unicorns, they had the better sense of macro and punished down the mid, even though they gave up one death in combos. What did he find Xerxes on the Hextech ultimatum, but Maxlor gets stopped up inside the cage. It's 2v2, but it's about to be a lot more as Maxlor goes down to Hillisang. Faxi around the backside a little late as Narbar is not big enough yet, and Unicorns have decided to get out.
This isn't a traditional cage match. You can't win this one by escape. It's pinfall or submission only, and Unicorns of Love just got the 3 count on Maxlor because that was a devastating combination. Unicorns of Love continuing their aggression. 3K nearly in the lead. They want to get more towers on the board. You can see Exile's gone to push out the top side. We'll see if they can continue this. Woodid wants to hunt Chachi down.
He just gets the tag sweep after the double hook shot, and well, Visit Chachi is going to be out of there. Flash had already been burned previously. Excuse me, I muted myself.
I was wondering, I was like, did I just space out for a second there?
No, that was me.
It's okay.
It's all good. We're 15 minutes into this game, though, and it's still the Unicorn advantage, but they haven't grown this gold lead as much when you consider that they're 3 towers up to just the one of Roccat.
Yeah, it's frustrating because you look at this situation for Roccat and you're like, there's things I really want to praise, and there's these aspects of the gameplay that it has looked better for them, the way that they're making the play on top side. I like the draft of the Gnar into Renekton. It's a smart adaptation, utilizing the flex on Camille. I just feel like this is the week for Origin and Roccat where their opponents are really unfortunate for them. Like, having to play up against Unicorns of Love and Misfits for the 2 bottom teams, and it's the series that we're finally starting to see them make proactive plays, I think is really unfortunate.
But if Roccat can keep this, the good news for them is next week is Origin Vitality. We've heard Grab saying, I think we can definitely take on those teams. And you know, Fnatic Giants up next week, those are 2 teams that they actually got 1 game off of at the very least. Some of those series look close. So there's definitely hope for this Roccat team, despite the fact that they don't have a series win on the board. And it's looking less likely as this game goes on, too.
I think a lot of people will typically look at bottom of the table matchups and say, you know, they don't look so interesting. Well, I defy anybody that tells you that next week, when you've got all 4 of these teams facing up against each other, to tell me it isn't at least intriguing, interesting. We've got Peke back, Vitality look a bit better, Roccat look like they've shored up some of their weaknesses as well. So, I mean, next week's games also look great. Unfortunately for this one, Hjanen forced to flash out, and Unicorns, they are continuing to look strong.
Yeah. You talk about cage matches, next week's definitely going to be chock full of them. Betsy on the bottom side looking to push in. He's got a big wave of minions, but Unicorns are starting to collapse up on the top. Faxi knows something's up. He gets suppressed. In goes Chachi. Dominus on Big Gnar. Double against the wall. He hops, he skips, he crunches. Does he have enough to get a kill here before he's taken down to 0? The answer is no. Hillisang with the final shot.
Cross-map play at a Roccat at the same time, so it's the kill for the trade of the turret, but Unicorns, of course, it's their prerogative to take the tower that stood behind Faxi. Faxi couldn't get himself out in time, tried desperately to keep himself in the game, and Unicorns Punish once again. 5th tower of the game has fallen.
Another inner for the outer. Roccat gets something, but just not nearly enough. And now it's Rift Herald time. If Chachi gets this, the split push is going to be a little ridiculous to contend with. Uh-oh, they reset it.
Yeah, well, this one is actually interesting. Defizio talked about split push earlier, but I'm going to focus on Exile and Maxlor.
Isolation damage. Oh, he flashes outside. The Unleash the Power comes in. He's going to follow through. Maxlor, nice outplay onto Exile.
Good trade against the isolated target there. Maxlor, of course, it's kind of Kazak's kit. That's his forte. you want to 1v1 me? I guess that's fairly straightforward. Exile ends up dying, and Maxlor looks a little better off in this game. We've had a couple of games you and I have casted with Maxlor where we're saying, hey, he needs to do a little better. We want to see more action out of Maxlor. I would say this looks like a bit of a turning point for the jungler of Roccat, especially up against the Unicorns of Love. He's not looked completely off of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely an encouraging sign because you have to look back at it. We dug a little into those stats last week and saw that Maxlor actually had, one of the lowest kill participations, or K+A, early on, and this is kind of a turnaround. He's finding a moment to get sinking his claws in, I should say.
Great flash out of Maxlor to get past the scat of the week and even through the ultimate from Syndra. Was able to just chunk him down, follow him over the wall. Nice, that's what we like to see.
I mean, it's definitely merits some applause there that Maxlor starting to step up. Now, question is it going to be enough? Dragon, a little reset for a second, but Unicorns are still back on it. It is another Cloud Drake, so it'll make him even speedier to try to get the collapse around. Roccat are going to have to watch it to get the later stages of the game. They're going to be looking for that 1-3-1, as you said, but they're going to have to keep their towers if they want to do it.
We did, coming up to the top side, not really looking to dive Chachi. It's more about establishing the vision so that once Roccat have pushed up through this jungle, they can join Betsy up there and try to look for that tower. But of course, the Unicorns have wrapped around behind them and maybe looking for a play here. They've been pinging on the jungle, missing pings and assist me pings the entire time. So both teams don't really want to fight right now, but are in position to do so.
It's another standoff. No Narbar for Faxley. This will be hard for Roccat to pull off, but Unicorns have no vision on this. And Roccat know where Unicorns are. Let's see if anyone steps out of their comfort zone. Oh, Unicorns are going to look for a push, it looks like.
Well, they just want to make sure that all lanes are pushing so that Roccat don't really have any other options on the map. There's only one place.
They knew.
Surprise, there's only one place Roccat are going to be on the map. Since you saw them enter, and you haven't seen them for a minute since. Roccat sticking around long enough that they basically got squatters' rights in the jungle on the Unicorns of Love. Whew. But they're backed out. Baron's alive now. We've got Chachi pushing out bot side, has TP available. Unicorns, they're still in full control of this game. For as much as we've been talking about positives of Roccat, I mean, Hylissang on this Malzahar, yes, he's got most of the kills of the team, but he's been doing a good job at setting those up, getting the vision control, finding the targets, already has that redemption completed, and this is what you do if you're struggling with a split pusher, you 2v1 him. Problem is, Roccat have the top side of the map in their favor, and that's where the rest of the team has gone, and Faxi just got away.
Yeah, Faxi made it out. He was able to hop and combo into Gnar. Gets out, a dodge just in time, had to spend his ultimate for it, but no Summoner's Burn, so Roccat can be happy with that trade. As we're 20 minutes in, once again, it's still the Unicorns having moved their lead only slightly by inches. It's 2,500 ahead. They do have the map control on the bottom to compensate for that, though.
And here's the difference between a team like Roccat and a team like Misfits. You just saw the jungler on the bottom side. Now, that doesn't mean you start Baron on the top side. What that means is you take away every single ward that the Unicorns of Love have placed in that Baron pit. You go in, you sweep it out, because you know 4 people from your team are there, and only 3 people can respond from the Unicorns. And they haven't done that. Look at the wards that's still in the river, in the jungle. Now Betsy has cleared the one out from the Baron pit, but they could have done that already and then looked to make the defensive play. Unicorns had nothing else on the map that they could do.
And that's not the punishment that Grabs was talking about this team needing to make when there were small mistakes by enemy teams. Because everyone in the European LCS, let's not make any mistake. They will make mistakes for sure.
And the downside of this is, hey, look, you cleared it all out, but now the Unicorns have grouped up on the top side of the map. At least Hylissang has gone in and cleared out all of the control Roccat had. So that minute delay to actually establishing the wards, the control wards, is enough to kind of throw it all away. And now Roccat have got to be careful they don't get locked down by the Unicorns here in the jungle.
Looking for some picks here.
Oh, Yarnan!
Not taken. Yarnan gets jumped on by Chachi. Collateral damage. In comes the curtain call. He's going to have to flash it. Kick it out in time. He goes down. Unicorns find a pick.
right on the edge of the radius, just enough to get Hyanan. And it's enough for Unicorns to turn for the Baron. They already just cleared out most of the wards that Roccat had established. And this is the problem, is somehow Chachi found the perfect TP onto Hyanan. Faxi has his, because he didn't actually get into the fight in time. Now he's looking at TP, and Maxlow's already dead.
Well, there's your Smite Steal gone right about there, and Betsy turns a quick 180. This one should be an easy Unicorn take. Faxi is going to do what he can to try to punish these Unicorns.
He's gonna have Mega now.
There we go. Exile taking a little low. Into the pit he goes.
Ooh.
Faxi finds Exile. The Baron might be up for grabs after all. A double kill for Faxi. They're sweeping away the Unicorns. The Baron's still on. A triple kill for the Meganar. And there they go. Xerxes secures the Baron, but there's hardly anyone to hold it.
Oh, Xerxes gonna end up falling here. Chachi got out. The Unicorns commit to the Baron, and it all goes wrong when Faxi finally finds himself the opportunity to get into the pit. It was a good combo by Roccat. Xerxes with a couple of odd decisions at the end there. Instead of staying in the pit and just comboing down the Baron, he flashes out, dashes back in, seals his own fate. Interesting. I want to see the replay again to see how much threat Xerxes was under, but good response from Roccat. The Baron is on Chachi. Roccat got mid-tower.
Yeah, that was one wacky fight. Let's take a look at how it happened again.
So Faxi teleported all the way in away from the fight, so theoretically it was already done. But the trade onto Exile, look at the damage that came out of Betsy. Nice 3 or 4 man ult came through, and let's keep our eyes on Xerxes here. Does he have enough mana and health to combo this time? He's afraid of the Baron spikes, but look, it was already around about 1200 health. So Xerxes had to go back in to secure it. Otherwise, Faxi and Betsy would have got that Baron. So in the end, it's the right play after he'd gone out to come back into the Baron pit. But Xerxes and Chachi not always on the same page when it comes to a lot of those Baron engages.
Definitely not, but at least they get out with one Baron, and it's on Visit Chachi as they look to push down the mid lane. Things have suddenly gotten a little less certain for these Unicorns. 30 seconds, they'll be a Mountain Drake, and they've got the map control to take it, but Roccat have shown they're capable of fighting even man down.
And the thing is, the Unicorns haven't set up the waves to, facilitate the rest of this Baron for the next 30 seconds or so. Chachi's now crossing over to the bot lane. They obviously pushed out mid, but had taken that tower earlier. So Unicorns of Love a little stalled out on this Baron. It is only Chachi that has that.
Yep, but they are aiming for the last tower outside of the base that they can get. Shouldn't be too hard of a take. Maxlor not moving in time. They have Faxi with no teleport on the top side.
And no opposition for Faxi either. Frozen Mallet completed, has Warden's Mail, which means Unicorns have to group. They get a tower from it. That's exactly what they're looking for. But no longer do Unicorns of Love have safe side lanes. They must play this out through the Baron buff and through fighting and pushing as a unit, because nobody can contain Faxi, really. Especially not if he's close to that Meganar point. At that point, Exile can't all-in him. Chachi can't all-in him. Can't trade in the lane either.
That's all the X factor. And as the game goes on, you know, we talked about this in champion selection. The Rise rolls forward. He's sitting right now, currently on his Seraph's Embrace, the full stacks of the Rod of Ages. He just needs some more items to be relevant. Looks like he's building himself towards the Zanya's Hourglass. But Faxi's been big. Maxlor's been doing work now. They definitely have a lot of damage that they can work with as this game goes on. Yeah,
they have. And Unicorns, they're starting to run out of ways to start the setup for their fights. I mean, they have Jhin ultimate. They're going to have the flash from Hylissang if they can get on a target, but they can't push waves out, cut through the side anymore if the waves are always pushing in towards them. So as long as Hyanan stays safe, doesn't have a QSS but does have Edge of Night, I think Roccat should be okay when it comes to holding. When it comes to actually turning the game around, that's a different story, as the Unicorns have looked very dominant. Now they're looking to cut in behind Betsy, as Chachi's looking to run him down the lane. Oh, Maxwell's already recalling. Oh, Betsy. Oh, Betsy.
I think he missed the memo right now. Let's see what he can do. No Realm Warp taken. He's trying to bait in for Maxlor. Chachi has the dominance. Has to know something's up as the exhaust is there, but flashing forward is Hylissang, and Xerxes blows him up.
So I thought Betsy still had his ultimate. It looks like it was channeled earlier. Must have got caught by that ruthless predator. Locks him in place. So,
sometimes you make an oopsie.
Yeah, that was a bit of an oopsie, but that's Betsy getting caught out. That's what we were talking about. Like, nobody can contain Betsy and Faxi on their own. But if Betsy's pushed up and 5 members of the Unicorns come around, that's surely enough to pick up the kill. Now, Unicorns of Love, very low Baron power play on that.
Well, it was only Chachi that ended up getting it, and they lost so much in the fight, they kind of had to make up for lost time. But nearly evened out, so for Unicorns.
What you got to keep in mind on that one, Pyra, is the Baron gold itself is included in that. So the fact that Unicorns only took 1 tower and a Baron got completely equalized by all of the kills that Roccat got.
Yeah, I mean, that was the triple kill for Foxy, and he really earned it. Obviously, Wadid was doing some work as well. Maxlor into the pit, or Maxlor was dead, excuse me. Considering the numbers they were down, Roccat really fought that one out well, and Unicorns, they made some serious mistakes. Now, can they recover? It's still 5,000 gold to lead. They've had every dragon this game, and they had so many towers, so much pressure, but if they get turned on from a TP flank, we could see a very different story to this game.
So this is Betsy starting to channel his ult. There you go. That's unfortunate, but I guess that's what Renekton does, is Chachi was able to keep Betsy in place for long enough for the Unicorns to get on top and lock him down.
And Unicorns can afford to blow some of these big ultimates too, because they know that they've already knocked one out of the park, out of the picture rather, and Roccat are just trying to hold at the moment until they get to those big item spikes. Zhonya's is complete on the rise, but that's still only a 3-item rise.
Yeah, it's still not exactly game-winning right now for Roccat, but they do control the side lanes. They can't afford to push out right now because they don't have control of vision alongside it, which is what Maxlor has pushed up here. They have the inkling that Chachi will try and take him on his own. But Chachi did ward out the blue buff. They just pinged onto Maxlor. That's going to force a response in mid lane. Look at the aggression out of Hylissang. Actually just got Kianan's flash.
And they're onto Wadid right now. In comes Xerxes. Instant exhaust down. The smoke screen was thrown as well. Roccat trying to hold, but meanwhile Chachi is getting 2v1'd up in the top side as Foxy is tanking all the tower shots. Maxlor a little low, looking for the isolation finish, and he's not going to be able to do it! The Croc with the outplay!
Maxlor and Foxy on different pages again, and Unicorns of Love, they're looking for this top inhibitor tower. It's easily crushed down. Roccat committed 2 people to the side lane and lose their base.
They could hold, but they chose not to, going for the big play, and Chachi survived in the 1v2. Rockat's base is not so lucky.
The thing is, you already have that side lane won. Foxy already wins that on his own. We saw it yesterday with Wonder playing the Gnar up against Renekton. You're so far ahead on this Gnar-Renekton matchup, it doesn't really matter that Kha'Zix is there. If anything, you caused slightly more problems than you actually fixed by going aggressive.
You just feed the enemy top laner.
It's not even about that. It's like, oh, they've got 2 people over in the bot lane by our base. We'll take their inhibitor. And Unicorns now are in the best position to set up the Baron.
There we go. TP, though, for Visit Chachi. Goes on in. The Unicorns are shoving
in.
Wadid throws down the cage, but he was the one that got taken down. It's Foxy gets shut down, courtesy of Exile, unleashing the power right into his face.
I thought it was Hyanan. It was actually Wadid. He found Foxy, as you said, ended up dying. Well, Baron's just come up. There's super minions coming through the top side. Unicorns don't even want the Baron. They want a second inhibitor.
Looks like they might just get it. In goes Chachi. He slices, he dices. Betsy goes golden. Hylissang face tanking the Ash Arrow, but he still gets a suppression down. Not enough to finish the job. But the curtain call might just zone them off for a minute. The mini wave's looking a little thin, though. Unicorns are getting cold feet.
Unicorns, a little overextension into the mid lane, and Roccat had regrouped in time, so Unicorns are going to have to back themselves away, but they still have that super minion wave in the top side. They will, of course, be able to set up around the Baron buff. You've got no wards within any radius, really, of that Baron. 1 in the jungle right now. You can see that's what Wadid's looking for.
Yeah, it's all Unicorn's vision right now. They're slowly starting to clear this one out. Betsy will grab his blue buff, but no chance of a retaliatory Baron after that answering kill onto Hylissang. Wadid scouting around as they place a few wards themselves. Not able to get close enough to that pit. Unicorns might play this one a little safer this time.
I think they can probably just start it, in their minds at least. I wouldn't condone just starting it. But as soon as this super minion wave...
Stress.
Yeah, exactly. In the super minion wave from the top side, as long as it pushes down into the base, that's when they'll start the Baron.
There you go.
Ooh, look at that turnaround, Pyra. That is... we said that he normally has 30% of his team's damage. Well,
utility 80 carry.
Turns out Ash, not so damage focused, and 15% of it. Of course, he's kind of playing around 2 strong side laners.
Very true. And 5 strong Unicorns on this Baron right about now. Unfortunate timing for Foxy. He's backing away, and his Meganar just ran out. Not a whole lot of response. Roccat are going to try. Exile just cleanses the Ash Arrow, and they can turn the fight now. Teleport in the back with their 5-man Baron. Wadid is going to go for a desperation fight. Redemption's on for the Unicorns, but Foxy is nowhere near Meganar, and he's taken out real quick now. Chachi 6. Tanking everything, excuse me, as Wadid going in for a desperate charge again, but he gets pushed back, and Samix gets 1 kill. The Unicorns are cleaning up. It's Betsy taken down to 0. A triple kill for the Jhin, and Yarnan is the only one to live to tell the tale.
And look at top lane already pushing in, already welcoming the Unicorns of Love into the Roccat base. And Exile's chasing down Yarnan. There's no wave clear, no chance, and no chance of Roccat picking up this game. Unicorns close game 1.
It's all Nexus. Unicorns, the fans say fear their horns, and Roccat know exactly why. After game 1, Unicorns lead the series.
They were in control for the most part of the game for the Unicorns. Solid game 1 win. You know, there was a couple of fights here and there that went against them, but Roccat just never got the 1-3-1 setup. They got to the point where they were strong enough to do it, but never had the vision, never had the ability to get that far out on the map, and Unicorns punished them in the fights again and again.
A couple of critical mistakes for Roccat, too, that they'll have to look at post-game, because they pushed 2 members to try to take out Chachi when he was not the biggest threat. Unicorns answering up top. This is a team that knows how to punish you for making those mistakes, and that's something for Roccat to learn from.
And then in the final fight, you get the good, cage around. It looked like he was on Exile. They locked him in. Problem is, everybody else in the Unicorns turned on Gnar that was coming into the fight as mini Gnar. No chance of getting to Mega Gnar and drop him instantly. And that's where Unicorns still had the ability to fight, was team fights. They didn't need to 1-3-1. They didn't need to deny the 1-3-1. They just said, hey, we're stronger as a unit.
They definitely played it better together. There were still some mistakes, and I think even Chachi's grinning a little bit about a couple of things that went wrong that game for the Unicorns, but it just wasn't enough for Roccat to really turn it around in their favor. And I think the next thing to tick off on the Unicorns box is, can they just close this one out 2-0?
Yeah, Chachi's just thinking, well, you gave me a matchup I don't win in the end, so I'm glad we fixed it. It's all right. Everything's okay around that Renekton. Chachi actually played pretty well, obviously dominating the early lane, as you'd expect. So I like the Renekton pick with the Graves. It works really well, and then Graves gets a kill on mid lane, and you take mid tower super quick. And that's what the Unicorns have done quite a few times now.
Well, I can't wait to see that draft in game number 2. But the Unicorns, they're up 1 hoof in this best-of-3 series over Roccat. So we're going to send it over to the analyst desk to take a closer look at game 1.
Thank you very much, Pyra. Of course, an interesting game to be sure. There was a lot more back-and-forth action than I expected after that early game, but I think we have to start by talking about the early game and kind of everything that went on.
Well, it went very right if you are Unicorns of Love, obviously. Went very wrong if you're Roccat. And I felt like, we were kind of talking, being like, okay, the draft, we like it from Unicorns, the Malzahar. And then in-game, it was like, Roccat, don't show why you're our bottom team in like 5 minutes, because every lane died.
We don't have to show in 5 minutes. We have like 30 seconds to a minute
30
of
seconds.
highlight reels. Let's take a look at it now. 3 deaths across 3 lanes for Roccat, and this is kind of just brutal to watch.
I think one main thing here is that when you're a coach of a team and you're trying to figure out how to make them better, you kind of depend on your players to have like a certain level of play. And what you see in these clips is that Roccat is just not living up to what they're supposed to do individually.
Oh, this one.
Like, this is a perfect example of it. You can't be making these mistakes on the stage. So if I'm the coach of Roccat, I genuinely would not know where to go from here. I would have to hire positional coaches and stuff to try to fix this. But this is, I think we can't even take anything away from draft, because this is more to do with individual play than it is to do with team play or draft or anything like that.
Exactly, and that's why it gets so difficult, when you feel like the composition, it makes sense, the Gnar into Renekton, sure, Gnar can outscale, you got a split pusher right there, you can put Ryze in the other side lane, Stress was talking about it, how the 1-3-1, it was there. Like, the idea was basically there for them, but then, like, you look at, especially Wadid down the bottom lane, pre-6 on Camille, actually level 2, when he was down a level already, he started going aggressive, and it's just like, it kind of misplaced where you're like, why? Like, you don't even need to do that. Foxy didn't even need to jump into the tower, but he just did. And it's like, you want to see the next game where they don't make the mistakes and see if they can have a much better early game.
And just to be clear, we spoke earlier, before the start of this game, Unicorns of Love, maybe some struggles in the early game. This is not absolving them of that, correct? This is not an example of Unicorns of Love outplaying in these circumstances. Is this just Roccat kind of falling apart?
Roccat falling apart, and I guess, I mean, in that sense, you can say Unicorns are like outplaying or winning the early game specifically, but Roccat did not make it hard for Unicorns to win the early game.
Like for Unicorns to win early game, when we say that, it's more so how are their early game strategies as a team? How do they invade? How do they do buff control? This is more so just like individually they're better, and that's great for them, of course, but they still have to show a lot more before we can say they've fixed their issues.
I'm still happy to see Xerxes play Graves. We wanted to see more meta picks. Obviously, already against Misfits, you showed Graves twice. We haven't seen Lee Sin. We're not seeing Elise, these kind of picks, but that's okay if Graves is in there for now. But I can see that be a problem. Like, if I'm Roccat, I think I'd take away the Graves, because you take away Iron already. You think you can take away Graves as well, but they might be on red side, so it could be difficult.
Well, looking at his development, of course, we saw him really struggle at IEM, pulling out the Graves against Misfits, looked okay for him overall. I feel like we've seen him consistently tunnel on 1 or 2 picks, and Graves just continues on that trend. Is it okay for them to continue just picking this Graves, or is this really an opportunity for them to kind of show that he can play more, to show that there's more in the champion pool?
I think, I don't know if they need to show it on stage necessarily. Like, if you're playing Roccat, if I'm Unicorns, I'm okay with playing just Comfort Champions and just playing what I'm good at and going on from there. But I do think they should start practicing these other picks, because going into playoffs, all the top teams are going to be playing every single champion that's strong. No one's going to leave the champion pool issues, or any champion pool holds, rather. So if Unicorns want to actually contest at playoffs, which is what they should start thinking about now, then they definitely need to start picking them up.
All right, well, they were still able to come out on top in this game, so let's take a chance to look at that final fight. It's this kind of big deciding moment where Unicorns were finally able to close it out. Kind of the level of play we expected from Unicorns in this situation, and Roccat, it feels like, maybe just overcommitting in this instance.
Yeah, okay, Unicorns were basically like a step ahead of Roccat all game long, and they get that big team fight around Baron that they were kind of looking for earlier. We had a lot of like different fights here and there where even Roccat managed to win some, but this is just like secure Baron, 4-man disengage out. Chachi kind of buys time for the rest of the team as the tank at the front. And I also really like I like Malzahar a lot. I think Malzahar against like a lot of teams in Europe is really good, because it's rare you see teams like coordinate around him. They sometimes overstep a little bit. They get caught by the Malzahar ulti. I do want to see less flashes from Hylissang where the rest of the team is not ready. I'm not sure what the Exile is won right there, but maybe we get some plays.
Insight into the strategy behind the Unicorns of
Will
Love.
I play this champion? Maybe if you win this one.
All right. Well, so the question I asked this earlier today to Stress about Origin after their game 1. I want to ask you guys now about Roccat as we go into their game 2. If there's anything that you could see change coming into this game, coming into picks and bans, whether it's, picks and bans, early game strategy. If you want to see Roccat improve, what is the first and most immediate thing that they need to change coming into game 2?
I think in pick bans, I think when you're a team that is A, struggling in the early game, just individually, and B, doesn't have the best macro, you should look for like just easier picks that punish opponents. So I want to see Roccat play Malzahar, for example. Jhin Malzahar is a very easy lane to play where you can just play it safe, but if the enemy makes a mistake, it's very easy to punish. I want to see Roccat play that against Unicorns and just deny more of Unicorns' comfort picks.
We'll have to see if they can adapt here. We're going to get sized up for those Leona and Diana rings. But when we come back, we'll get into picks and bans for Game 2 between Unicorns of Love and Roccat. Stay tuned.
Going in for first blood, it's Hylissang. All right, Betsy gets stopped up. Scout of the weekend comes Xerxes flashing auto. Oh boy! Xerxes claim the kill. The Baron might be up for grabs after all. A double kill for Faxi. They're sweeping away the Unicorns. The Baron's still on. A triple kill for the Meganar. And there they go. Xerxes secures the Baron, but there's hardly anyone to hold it. Tanking everything, excuse me, as Wadid going in for a desperate charge again, but he gets pushed back, and Samix gets 1 kill. The Unicorns are cleaning up. It's Betsy taken down to 0. A triple kill for the Jhin, and Yarnan is the only one to live. It's all Nexus. Unicorns, the fans say fear their horns, and Roccat know exactly why. After game 1, Unicorns lead the series.